Hi everybody, this is Arkady Frekhtman. I'm a New York City personal injury trial attorney, and can you be next? Will you be next? This is a story of how we helped a YouTube viewer, another one. And that's why I asked, can you be next? Will you be next? So this is the story of a gentleman named Victor, a really nice guy. And he had a case pending, and he was a viewer of our YouTube channel, and he reached out to me and we did a consultation, and then he ended up retaining our services. And we took his case. He already, like I said, had a case. It was a trip and fall. It was a difficult case, both on liability wasn't so difficult, but the damages were difficult because it was one of these pre-existing conditions or an aggravation of an injury he already had, right? As opposed to a new injury. It wasn't a new injury. And, the prior lawyer was kind of like forcing him to take a lowball settlement. And he said no. He saw our channel, he came over, and we were able to help him. And just days ago, this is hot off the press, just days ago, we were able to resolve this case. And I'm happy to report that we were able to resolve it for millions of dollars, even more than $1 million. I'll let you know later on how much, but it was a 7-figure settlement. And we didn't just take the primary policy, but we got into the excess, into the umbrella, which is amazing. So let me tell you a little bit about the case. So he was working as a building maintenance manager in a commercial building in downtown Manhattan, and he also lives in Manhattan. So we had New York County venue, which is considered to be okay, but pretty tough, pretty conservative venue, Manhattan venue. And so he was inspecting a higher floor, I believe it was like the 32nd floor. And the way the floor was built was that it had like different levels. And so he's at the higher level, and there's a ladder, and it's just like 2 or 3 steps, and that's to get down to the lower level. This is like almost like a roof, but it has one level and then it has another level, and there's this ladder. And the way the ladder was placed was that it wasn't like affixed to anything. It was just like a makeshift ladder that somebody built and just left there. And so the steps of the ladder, the horizontal steps are called the treads, and then the vertical part of any staircase are called the risers. And so, nothing, not the risers, not the treads, not the sides of the ladder, nothing was attached to anything. It was just there. And so it could be moved, it could be placed in different locations, but it didn't even have a handrail. And so as he was going down, the whole thing wobbled and it like toppled over, and he fell and he injured his hip, and he ended up needing a total hip replacement. But the issue was that before this fall had occurred, Victor already had an MRI of his hip. He knew that he had osteoarthritis of his hip, and he was told that he's going to need possibly one of the treatment options is to have a total hip replacement, is to fix this injury that he already had. But he didn't necessarily agree to have the surgery. It was just something that, was an option. It was like a pathway that he could take, but he wasn't set on doing that. But after this happened, the pain just became so unbearable. So it was almost like the straw that broke the camel's back, or it was the additional push that kind of pushed him over the edge. And so it made him more vulnerable. And we don't say that the people who are most vulnerable, that their injuries are somehow worth less, right? We take our plaintiffs as we find them, meaning some people, that kind of fall, wouldn't have done anything, and the case would be worthless, or it'd be worth like $1,500. And other people, because they're already vulnerable, that fall is, life-changing, which it was in Victor's case. So we were able to show liability. We were able to, work with a safety engineering expert to talk about all the building code violations and to show liability. We were going to do a trial. We actually were supposed to try this case back in April, but there was another problem that happened with the doctor who did the surgery had some kind of family emergency and he wasn't available, and he was being really like cryptic about it, his office, and they weren't saying what happened or why he was unavailable, or when, or if ever he would come back. Just that he was, out of commission, some kind of family emergency. Basically, he just disappeared, and we couldn't get the doctor. So we had to try to send the client to other doctors, to get someone else to review all the medical records and then come in and testify. But that's not as strong, because the cross-examination could be, well, you're not the surgeon. You never saw this patient before. You only saw him a few weeks ago, right before trial. You're talking about another doctor's medical records, so it's not as strong. But because, the judge gave us time to do that, and we were doing that, the client had already seen a new doctor. The trial was going to be in September, just like in about a month from now, but it ended up settling at a mediation. So the parts of the settlement were pain and suffering past, pain and suffering future. There were lost wages. There were future medical expenses, and also, so those are basically the parts. So what ended up happening was, we were at a mediation, and the mediation actually happened, I believe, in middle of June. And I was away. I was actually at a conference. I was at that Trial Lawyers University, and another attorney from my office was handling the mediation. And the mediation started at like 5 p.m. and it ran kind of late. It ran all the way to like 8 p.m. I was in California time. I didn't even realize it. And, first they were offering, I think, about $900,000, and the client wanted to take it. And they were calling me, and I said, look, let's try to get more, because I knew that they had a $1 million primary policy, and they also had a $25 million umbrella policy, which, by the way, the first lawyer that was handling it, he didn't even know about this, right? He just thought it was a $1 million. He got an offer, a few $100,000. He told the client, take the offer, it's a great offer. We asked him, well, did you ever even find out if there was an umbrella policy? He goes, not only did I not find out, but what difference does it make? Why would I even want to know that? He just didn't think the case, really, what do you call that? Closed mindset, or fixed mindset, not a growth mindset, right? Not looking to make money, or to, think about possibilities, going to trial, getting millions of dollars. For whatever reason, I don't want to say anything bad about the lawyer. I don't even remember who it was at this point. I just some other lawyer. I don't even know who it was. I forgot. But anyway, just like the idea, right? The way you approach a problem really matters. If you approach a problem that way, well, I don't even want to know if there is excess, right? Well, you're foreclosing all that, right? So now, not only are they not going to give you the 25 million, forget about the 25 million, they're not even going to give you the million, because they know that you're looking at it from that vantage point, right? It's all about perspective. It's all about the way you approach something. So that's why they were lowballing him and, trying to cut money off the million, trying to save money. So then at this mediation, the reason we went to the mediation, because I always say, don't go to mediation unless you have a good faith offer. Well, the defendants gave me a good faith offer. And they said, off the record, the associate assigned to the case kind of told us, look, if you go to mediation, there's a chance we could settle this case for $1 million or maybe more. So we said, okay, let's go to the mediation. That's what the client wanted. So we show up to the mediation. They start off at like around 900, and I tell them no. Then they get to $1 million, and everybody's like telling me, look, you got to take this. This is an amazing offer, because there's no new injury. He already had this. Like whatever he had on the MRI before he even fell is the same thing he has on the MRI now. The only difference is that after the fall, he just ended up having the surgery. But maybe even he didn't fall, he would still have the surgery. So like, you're crazy not to take this. Everybody, like the mediator, my own office, everybody's like thinking I'm insane. But I said, look, just hold off, because the reason I really wanted to hold off is because I want to make sure I do a complete job for my clients. I want to make sure that I get full justice, like every last penny. I don't want to leave money on the table. And I didn't know what the future medical costs were going to be. And I was working on this other case, the one in the Bronx, that ended up settling for $2.2 million. And in that case, I had future medical expenses from my surgeons and my economists together. And the future medical expenses were like 2.6 million. Just the future medical expenses were over 2 million, right? 2.6. So I figured like, well, this case, okay, that case was a back surgery, a fusion. This case is a hip surgery, but also a life-changing injury, a serious injury, a total hip replacement. He might need a revision. He may need physical therapy, prescriptions, all those things over the course of one's lifetime. And the other thing is that the two clients were roughly the same age. I think one was like 57, one was maybe like 63. So they're roughly the same age, a few years apart. So I figured let's wait, because that could be another, 1 million or more in medical costs that we could obtain for the client. So I didn't agree to the settlement. But then when the numbers finally came in from this new doctor, they were fairly low. the medical expenses he put were really conservative. They were like 70,000. He said he might need another surgery, and that's like 70,000. And he had a great result. There's no physical therapy. There's no prescriptions for anything. There's basically nothing. So, I can't argue with the doctor. If that's his opinion, that's his opinion. So there's nothing for the economist to then calculate. So then based on that, I thought, okay, so we're stuck with pain and suffering. We're stuck with a little bit of a lost wage claim, not too much, because he was going to retire soon anyway, being like about 63. So then we reached back out to them and we said, look, let's talk about a number. You talked about $1 million before. Let's talk about a number that's a little bit more than $1 million. And then we tried to get like around, over $1 million, and ended up settling for 1.2 million, 1,200,000. I thought it was a good result, for this kind of case, because again, it's just an aggravation exacerbation case. And, and while preparing the case, I also workshopped the case. I did some focus groups. I workshopped the case with some different trial groups I'm in. I had a few ideas about opening statement, about jury selection. I did a few human story calls with the client where I got to know him. I'll talk to a little bit to his friends, to his family. He had daughters. He was living with some friends. He had this thing where he would help people. He would go out and he would give talks for people in recovery, people who were addicts that were in recovery. And I felt like, look, this is somebody who's doing all this for others, right? That's helping others. So that's a really powerful theme that you could use in your cases. And he had some interesting, he had like a friend who was in a band, like a bass player, somebody who was in a movie with him. So yeah, it was kind of interesting. And he had to overcome other health issues, like he was a cancer survivor. And at that point, I thought it was great, because really they're helping each other, right? They're going to these meetings and they're giving talks, like inspirational talks about overcoming addiction and recovery, and basically talking to kids, talking to people, like kind of like a support group, like an AA group. So I kind of focused a lot of the theme on that. But all in all, it was another win. It was another settlement, and I was glad that I was able to help one of our viewers, one of our YouTube viewers. But I just want to give the caveat that, if you feel like you have a case and you have a serious injury, it's always better to hire a lawyer, the right lawyer, whether it's me or someone else, but just hire a trial lawyer, somebody who goes to court, who gets $1 million settlements in court, and of course, somebody who tries cases and gets jury verdicts. Because if you just go and hire, anyone out of the yellow pages or out of the internet or out of those billboards, and those people are not trial lawyers, the danger is that they're gonna be like this guy's first lawyer, right? Somebody who just kind of like going through the motions. We got a few $100,000, just take it because I have other cases. I don't really care. I'm not gonna do any deep dives. I'm not gonna find out about you, about your family, about your life, about what's important to you, about who you love, what you love. I'm not gonna delve into the medicine. I'm not gonna, do pretty much of anything. And then you get stuck, and then it's like, okay, well, what am I gonna do? Am I gonna just take like the few $100,000? Or am I gonna, if I go to trial, I'm gonna lose, I'm gonna get nothing. And then you're stuck between a rock and a hard place. That's why the time to choose the lawyer is at the beginning. Later on, sure, once in a while you could have one of these stories like I'm telling you now, that somebody comes in and is able to rescue the case and change it around. But most lawyers don't wanna do that because, first of all, it's late in the game. Since the first lawyer does a lot of the work, the first lawyer may be entitled to a large part of the legal fee. So very few lawyers are going to be able to step in because they're not going to be entitled to much of the legal fee. And also they can't undo what the other lawyer messed up. So it's like cooking a steak. If the other lawyer already cooked the steak and it's well done, well, nobody, even like Clarence Darrow, Johnny Cochran, the best lawyers in the world, they're not going to be able to make the steak medium rare. It's already well done. So I did my best. Like I think I tripled or whatever the offer. It was a few $100,000. Now it's like 1.2 million. And if we went to trial, sure, we could have presented a stronger case. Possibly they would have even offered more. It's possible, right? 1.6, 1.7. But, considering it's a tough venue, it's an okay liability case, but at the same time, you know, you already have the injury and the MRI already shows the injury and the doctor's already saying you need the surgery before you even fall. That's almost like an amazing result, right? Because then the jury could say, well, I just don't buy it because, you know, and also a lot of the defense lawyers are very, very cynical. They could say, well, yeah, sure, he did the surgery after he fell because then he saw it as an opportunity, right, for a payday. So that's when he did the surgery because he knew now he's in a case, whereas before he didn't do it. So, you know, it's tough. So I thought that was a great result, 1.2 million. Let us know what you think. Let us know what questions you have. We are here for you. Our goal is helping serious injury victims and families, and let us know how we can help you. But the big caveat and the big lesson learned is contact the lawyer early, the trial lawyer. Contact him early. If you want to contact me, I'm available. Just text me, 347-566-9595. This was like a save that we made. You know, this was like a diving catch in the outfield and we caught the fly ball. But a lot of times you just don't catch the ball, right? Or it's impossible to catch. So don't risk it this way. Do it as early as possible, whether it's me or someone else. And like I said, if you need someone who's a trial lawyer, but not in New York, for example, in Connecticut, in Maine, in Florida, in California, in Texas, in Oklahoma, wherever, anywhere, right? Seattle, Las Vegas, Atlanta, anywhere, just text me. I could actually do the research and find who is the lawyer that's getting the top record-setting jury verdicts for your type of case, and then give you that, and it's like free of charge. And that way you don't have to go and get the wrong person that's gonna like not call you back and ruin your case. Okay, so I hope this was helpful. Let us know what questions you have, but I'm happy that we got another win and more than $1 million, 1.2 million. We're racking it up, and we're here for you. Have a great summer, have a great day, and we'll talk to you very soon. Okay, bye-bye.